Welcome to our few moments together on the Parsha. This Shabbos, we have the privilege of reading Parsha's Beshalach, which of course contains the Shira of Oz Yoshir Moshe. The Egyptians are chasing the Bnei Yisrael after they left Egypt, and they want to bring them back. And as the Egyptians close in, they have the Egyptians in back of them, the desert on either side, the sea in the front, and the pasuk says, "Vayitzaku Bnei Yisrael el Hashem." And the Jewish people cried out to Hashem. Rashi immediately quotes the Mechilta, in which it says, of course, they learned it from their father Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov, who davened to Hashem, the power of prayer. And they cried out to Hashem, and sure enough, Hashem heard them. And as he says, Hashem yilachem lachem, Hashem will fight for you, va'atem tacharishun, and you will be absolutely silent because your prayer will be answered. It's interesting that in the Daf Yomi on Thursday of this week, the Gemara tells a story about the son of Rabban Gamliel that got sick, and he sent messengers to Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, who was well known to have his prayers answered. And as soon as Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa saw them coming and understood what the situation was, he immediately ran and davened, and sure enough, Rabbi Gamliel's son got better. And later on, they even compared notes and found that at the exact moments that Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa had prayed, that's when the salvation came, and Rabbi Gamliel's son became better. There is a famous story about a Dr. Gardia, who was the personal physician of the Chancellor of Germany in the 1700s, Frederick the Great, in the 1800s, Frederick the Great, and he was his doctor. And one day, while this Dr. Gardia, who was well known to be a Torah-observant Jew, a young girl came running into his office and banged on the door and screamed out, my father, and she starts telling the doctor what's wrong and that he's deathly ill and there doesn't seem to be any hope. Could the doctor hurry up and please come? So the doctor said, oh, okay. And he went to his closet and he took out his best clothing, his best coat, and he took a brush and started brushing off the coat to make sure that it was in perfect shape. Then he reached up, pulled down his hat, and he took the hat and he's brushing the hat and cleaning it off and making sure that it's clean. And he takes the hat and puts it on his head and looks in the mirror and sees to it that it's on right and so on. And after a while, the girl says, Doctor, if you're not coming and you're not hurrying, that means I have no recourse. And she starts davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, God, there's no one to help me. The most famous doctor in the world, the personal physician of Frederick the Great of Prussia, is not able to help me. Only you can help me. And the doctor took off his hat and took off his coat, and he told the girl, go home. Your father is getting better. Sure enough, she went home, and the father indeed took a turn for the better and was improving and constantly improved until he was well again. A few days later, they came to the doctor and said, but doctor, how did you know? What told you that the man was going to get better? And he said, because the description of the symptoms that the girl gave me, I knew there was nothing medicine could have done for this person. The only salvation could come about if she davened to Hashem. And so I sort of egged her on to the point where she knew there was no help except to cry out to Hashem. And when you cry out to Hashem, and the way she did from the depths of her heart, just as the Jews, when they cried out from the depths of their heart, when they came to the Yam Suf, the miracle happened, the water split, the Jews went through, and Yetzias Mitzrayim took place. Rashi seems to be hinting in this week's Sedra that Vayitzaku el Hashem, to cry out to Hashem, there are no guarantees. We know that. But the power of a sincere tefillah does not go unnoticed. We don't always get the answer we want. But we know that the sincerest of tefillos have efficacy, and they help. And that's the nature of the Jewish people through all time, to continue to offer those prayers and see them answered. And hasn't history seen, for the part of the Jewish people, so many amazing, especially in our time, results from the prayers of the Jewish people? We hope and pray that only good will come to all of the Jewish people and to each and every member individually as they cry out in tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on this Parshas B'Shalach. It's a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. Tu B'Shvat is coming up. Hope springs eternal. And we hope and pray that just as Hashem helped the Jews in the leaving of Mitzrayim, so will He help us to get to the next level and to see the full redemption. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Enjoy Parsha Shira and have a Shabbat Shalom U'Varach.